Welcome to another edition of Eye on Jamz Extra. Thank you for joining us this evening. I am very honored to have Miss Ashley Wineland joining me. Greetings and good evening, and how are you doing?
I am doing really good. Thanks so much for having me here.
You are welcome. It's been about a month since we last spoke, but there are people who might be watching who don't know a whole lot about you. So, start with some of the basics first. How did you get started in music? What drew you to this profession?
Yeah, so I started my music education pretty young. Thankfully, my school was big on the arts, so I got to involve myself in school band and things like that at the age of 10, I think, is about when I started. So I started off playing trumpet in school band and kind of throughout my young years got introduced to more opportunities to interact with music, whether that was through choir or talent shows and those sorts of activities. And as I experienced all those and kind of dabbled around with various types of music, I really found a love for singing and for performing in that capacity. So about the time I was 13, 14, I was actually gifted some time to go into the studio and record a demo of cover songs, which eventually led me to my producer mentor, Brian Cuban, who took me under his wing at that point, taught me all about the music industry, songwriting, putting your band together, going on tour, those sorts of things, and really showed me the ropes. And from there, I spent the rest of my teenage years playing my original music, writing original music, and once I graduated high school, really hit the road. And I've done 3 national tours now. And since COVID happened, I have actually had a lot of time to dedicate to producing my new album, which will be coming out later this year.
Well, you mentioned COVID, and the governor of Texas just announced that they're reopening the state 100% next week, and several other states are starting to do the same thing. Is there thought in your mind now to start touring, start doing some live shows?
It's definitely something that my team and I are looking into because obviously, as with everyone, we want to make sure that, well, one, of course, we're able to do the show, but two, that everybody's safe at the same time as we do it. So we're exploring those options right now, and I would love to be able to put some live shows on the book. So we're working behind the scenes on all that fun stuff right now. So for everybody who's been inquiring about when we're going to be back out on the road or just even doing live shows in Arizona, which is where I'm based out of, just stay in touch with me on social media and stuff, or follow me on Bands in Town for immediate notifications of when we put live shows on the books.
Well, when you are looking at doing a tour and trying to put a tour together, understand some of its logistics, but how do you decide what venues you want to try and hit, or how do you decide what cities you want to try and hit?
So when we're planning a tour like that, I mean, obviously we take into account the people who follow us on social media, where they're located. So thankfully, with analytics and stuff, we're able to kind of get a really broad idea of where the majority of my fan base is located. But also at the same time, we'll also go tour places where maybe we don't have as many fans in order to try to build up those locations as well. So it's just a matter of kind of routing and figuring out when we plan dates and stuff, which places are going to link well closely together. And when it comes to venues, we really strive to look for venues that will allow us to play our original music, where the focus can be on, hey, here's who I am as an artist, and we can bring that show to fans, as well as, I mean, of course, throw in some covers and have a good time with everybody. But we really strive for those venues that appreciate original music and supporting independent artists and stuff when we go out on tour. And luckily, over the years, we have found a bunch of really incredible venues. So our goal is to just keep adding on to those and just keep building routes so we get to go see more and more people in the future.
Without shaming a particular venue or a particular city, what was your worst experience at a venue?
Oh goodness. I think the worst one is it was stuff that happened on the back end. The show itself was absolutely wonderful. And then, there was some issues that management didn't necessarily talk to us about while we were there. Um, they waited until after we were gone to address these issues with us. And it was really unfortunate because it was a really cool location in a really cool place. And the people who were there, I had people who saw us at that particular show who came out when I was doing my unplugged tour 3 years later. who came out and saw us in Nashville. Um, but yeah, unfortunately, there's just some issues, and instead of addressing them with us either beforehand or there at the venue, they decided to address it afterwards, and unfortunately, it made it to where we didn't go back. So that was probably my worst experience. I've been really blessed to come across a lot of wonderful venues and venue owners who make performing shows really easy and really fun for us to come back and do.
A lot of artists share information about venues. Do you share information with other artists about venues? Some to watch out for, some to really make sure they try to hit?
Yeah, no, I definitely love networking with other artists about, hey, what are some of your favorite places to play? What are some of these places in your areas that you're local to that are supporting an independent music scene, who are supporting original music and up and coming artists? So I love to do networking on that regard. I always share mine. I love to get that sort of information from others too, because there are a lot of really wonderful, wonderful venues who do great work as far as supporting us as artists, and you want to make sure that those get spread around and shared.
Since we're on the topic of tours, who is the one artist or band that you would just die for to be the opening act for?
Oh, these days, probably Carrie Underwood, because she's consistently been doing her tours in the round. And I love that style of stage and the dynamics of that. I love being able to see the audience 360 and kind of have those pieces where you can get really close to them and you can work it from all angles. It's not just, hey, the seats in the front are the best seats ever. Everybody's got good seats all the way around. So probably her, because she does 360 shows.
Is it one where the stage is rotating? Because I was always be afraid that somebody would screw around with me and speed it up like the tilt-a-whirl at the carnival.
No, so from what I've seen of her past tours, it's not strictly a turntable. There's usually a foundation where they have walkways that go all the way around. And then I think for one of them, she had like the centerpiece that was a turntable so the band could turn on stage. But no, there's usually just walkways where you could go all the way around.
You have released, well, your latest single is the song "I'm Gonna Ride." Talk a little bit about that song.
So this song is personally one of my favorites off of the upcoming album. It's the title track of the album that's going to be coming out later this year. So I'm Gonna Ride is the name of the album. And it is a very personal song. I wrote it around the same time I wrote Daddy's Creed, which was the first single that came off of this album that I released back in November. And I was I was going through some rough times. And I had the moment where, Daddy's Creed was really my thoughts of like, oh, how am I going to get through this tough situation and the solutions that I kind of came up with. And then I'm Gonna Ride followed with the, you know what? I am so sick and tired of just waiting for these answers or for some outside source to come into my life and like magically make things better. It was my self realization that if I wanted things to improve, if I wanted to get the jump on to take the reins of my life and change the situation around, it was going to have to be me. I was going to have to do it. So I'm Gonna Ride is really that song of embodying all that liberation. And for me, nothing feels quite as liberating as getting on horseback and just flying across the desert. I think it's such a beautiful, just freeing experience. So I kind of took that love and that feeling and combined it together to kind of write this anthem of like, hey, I'm taking my life by the reins and I'm going. It doesn't matter if it's right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just going to do what's right and I'll figure it out as I go.
The rest of the album, you said is coming out later this year. How much of it can you share? Is it going to be similar to Daddy's Creed and I'm Gonna Ride, or is there going to be some songs that are going to really surprise the listener and go, huh, that's different for Ashley?
There's no two songs I would say on this album that are similar to one another, which makes it really unique. Each one has their own different styles and sounds. And while there's always that very country instrumentation and dynamic to all of them, they play off of different themes and different tones and utilize those instrumentations in very different ways. So I'm really excited for people to see the other songs on the album and to hear them and to see the music videos we have planned for a couple of the other songs that'll be coming out as part of that project as well, because they are just so vastly different. And I think it really shows, one, how much I've grown as an artist, and two, just how wide of a breadth I love to go with my songwriting.
One of the people watching had a very good question, and I think I'll throw it out to you. Who's your favorite artist outside of the country genre?
That is another really great question. I love music of all different sorts. I find myself listening to a lot these days in like the pop realm. It's Ariana Grande. I love her vocals. I always call them like acrobatic vocals, goals kind of thing. But somebody else who I've also really been enjoying, and I hope I'm not mispronouncing the artist's name, but I think it's Leon. It's Leon. And she has kind of a bit more of like a folky Americana sound that kind of also touches that pop scene a little bit too. And I just think some of her songs are super solid and have such an incredible storyline. So I've been really enjoying those.
Okay, so we're in the car, we're heading down the highway. Who's in the CD player right now?
Oh my Part of this is because I'm in a class right now about classic rock, but also I've been really enjoying listening to classic rock music. So it could span anywhere from like the Martells and the Penguins to acts like Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath. I've been listening to a wide variety of like classic rock music, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's been some really bopping cartoons right now.
So you are juggling classes and trying to do a music career. How is that going for you?
It's going good. I'm actually in my senior year right now through Arizona State University's online program. I've been in it since the get-go. So I'm getting my degree in film media studies. And it's tough sometimes, especially like when I was out on the road touring. It was a miracle to try to get that balance, but I think I've finessed it pretty well over the years. And so now we're just kind of in that final home stretch. So I've got it down to a science. I actually have to write an essay tonight after I'm done talking to you, but it's just part of life. And I'm just excited to have the privilege of being educated and doing what I love at the same time.
How much of your education, and you talk about media studies, how much of your education are you applying to things you are doing for your music career?
A lot. There's a lot of things that overlay. So, of course, while what I do is primarily in the music realm, what I'm studying is more on like the film, but of course, media sources type as well. Pardon the really loud cars driving down my road right now.
There's a
um,
party outside of Ashley's house.
yeah, there's drag racing or something. I don't even know. But no, a lot of it overlaps because entertainment is entertainment, and especially these days with social media and everything, there's a lot of video involved. So just to be able to see how everything's tying in together, the history of how we got to where we are as a society who enjoys entertainment and kind of those different aspects has been really interesting to learn, and to see how those principles kind of apply all over the board has been extremely useful. So I use my education a lot.
How much planning goes into doing one of your music videos? Just watching it, I'm thinking you guys are spending months and months and months of planning before you even get out and start shooting.
So it depends on the production, obviously. Usually, the concepts for music videos I have months before we even go into talks about production. For the ones that you have seen thus far, which the new ones are Daddy's Creed and I'm Gonna Ride, those music videos we did about a month of planning prior to, and then we shot the video. So Daddy's Creed was pretty easy. That was just like location scouting and organizing our team and stuff. Whereas I'm Gonna Ride had a lot more involved into the lead up to that. I spent about a good month every day out on the horse ranch running the video shoot with my horse Ringo and working with aztrailrating.com to kind of scout the locations and make sure that everything was going to work out. So there was a lot that went into that one. I just released a behind the scenes from our shoot day on my YouTube channel, but yeah, there was a lot involved. And I actually just got done filming one a couple weekends ago. And that one too was another one where we spent a little over a month um, doing rehearsals for it. And then we had a whole day of dress rehearsal and then the shoot. And it was super fun. And it's going to be great. I cannot wait. I actually have an edit of it sitting in my email right now that I'm super eager to see. But yeah, it's about usually a month of practice, prep, whatever we need to do organization wise, and then we shoot.
I want to talk about something that it's kind of been on the wayside for a lot of artists because they're not touring. And a lot of the revenue that an artist makes from touring is the sale of merchandise, t-shirts, hats, what have you. How do you decide what type of merchandise you're going to sell, and who does the design work for that?
So as far as like what we pick, it's gonna kind of go hand in hand with one, what are fans asking for? Like my fans asked forever, hey, can you please put out a hat? Can you please put out a hat? So I released an Ashley Wineland logo baseball cap earlier in the year. So we're currently out of stock of that right now, but we're looking into restocking that particular merchandise item. Of course, we love to have merch that comes out that aligns with my new music and things like that, or just common phrases that I use and stuff. So it's a mixture of what's relevant to what I'm doing, what do fans want, and how do we combine those things together to where I'm providing merchandise that is of value and of desire to my fan base.
Can I make a request? I have
Sure.
a t-shirt that's not black.
Everybody loves a black t-shirt. No, I know. It's hard to do colors because everybody's so different with colors. But yes, we are looking into different designs and stuff like that. It's a team effort to get those
It just
products
kills me that
done.
every artist, sometimes that's all they have is just a black t-shirt. And I'm not
Yeah.
always wanting to wear a black t-shirt, especially on a summer day when the sun is out. It gets
I hear
very hot.
ya. I hear ya. So maybe whites in the future. No, we're always looking into those sorts of options. So I'm thankful for your recommendation, especially yes, because summer is coming up.
Let's talk a little bit about sponsorship outside of obviously the money aspect of it. What are things you are looking for or your team is looking for when you are considering a company for a sponsor?
Yeah, so I love all my sponsors that I work with. So I think first and foremost, when it comes to looking for sponsors, it should be for a company or for a product that you actually use and love. Because to me, it's like if my fans are trusting me enough to take into consideration, like, hey, I really love this brand, I love this product, they're trusting, like, oh, hey, she uses it, she knows it. So that's why she's recommending it. I wouldn't just throw out any sort of sponsorship deal to my fans where it's a product or a company that I'm like, I really don't know anything about, or I've never really tried their products before. So, when I say, hey, go check out my sponsor, Bull Hide Hats, I wear their hats every single day. Or Peter Grimm hats, I wear their hats too, and I have for years. Alvarez guitars, I've played them since the beginning, and my Corral boots, like that's all that fills up my closet, those sorts of things. When you look for sponsorships, look for brands that you actually know and use and love, because that translates really well. It's like you're going to want to use them and wear them anyway, in which case it makes it far more organic when you're talking about them with fans and stuff. So that's primarily the thing I look for. I don't like to push anything that I don't know. But also a good team on their end who's open to collaboration and doing work and stuff. Like Peter Grimm's been really awesome with us on past tours about sponsoring hat competitions and stuff where we give away hats and everything to fans who come to shows. So it's just finding companies that you love and who also have a really good team behind them who are willing to work with you to make the best things happen.
We have a viewer that wants to know what's your favorite guitar to play?
Oh, so with my guitars, I love them all. When I'm doing my live shows, I really prefer my Masterworks model, Alvarez. I just think it has the best overall sound. When it comes to songwriting, my folk body that you guys might have seen me play tonight during my Instagram live broadcast that I did earlier, that's kind of my ride or die. That was my very first acoustic guitar. Um, she tracks great in the studio too. So when it comes to songwriting, that's my favorite. So between those two, I have multiples of my Alvarez's, but if I had to pick, I've narrowed it down to those two.
What does Ashley do to relax, to unwind when you're not doing music, you're not doing school, you're not thinking about music videos? What do you do to relax?
So I have a garden, which I love, and it's blooming right now, and that makes my day. So I find it therapeutic to go out there and like weed and like take care of them and see how they're doing. It's just nice to watch something go from like little seedling to like producing peppers and stuff. But I also really enjoy taking time to just sit down, turn on my favorite TV show, and do something really repetitive like knitting or crocheting. I try to do something like that every night. Of course, being outside, volunteering, I do a lot of volunteer work with animal rescues, and I find that to always be really relaxing too. So I have a couple of different options that I like to go to when it comes to like just decompressing because not everything works the same. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I like to make things like this.
Very
I
nice.
haven't weaved in the ends, but yeah, just stuff like that. It's nice and soothing to me.
You posted on social media, I think it was yesterday or today, I can't remember when, but it was very recently, a video of you at the Phoenix International Speedway.
Yes, that was
So are
so
you
much
looking to be a
fun.
NASCAR driver now?
I wear many hats, but that is probably not one of them that I will be adding to my collection. No, I was out there at the Speedway doing some work behind the scenes with them. I actually have a national anthem coming up with them on March 12th. So for anybody tuning in to that race, make sure to tune in a little bit early because my national anthem will be broadcasted. But yeah, got to do some fun work and drive on the track. So I did a little video giving everyone a preview of what it was like to drive down there. It's really cool.
You've done the national anthem several times now at various sporting events, baseball, football, I think, and NASCAR recently. Was it nerve wracking the very first time to do the national anthem in front of such a big audience like that?
Yeah, it always is. I don't care how many times I do it. There's always that element of like, oh, because it's the national anthem. If there's any one song that the whole country knows, it's the national anthem. So there's always that pressure to do it right and to do it well, especially because when you look at it and pull back, you're also honoring all of our servicemen and women, our veterans, people who came before us and helped build our nation into what it is and what it stands for. So yes, there's always that pressure, but I think I've gotten better over time, like giving myself like some breathing and just being like, you know what, this is such an honor to do. Let's focus on that and really enjoying ourselves and making this a really awesome experience as opposed to like, oh my goodness, it's the national anthem. I'm gonna have an anxiety attack kind of thing.
Well, that is the one song, as you mentioned, everybody knows, and they
Yes.
will criticize you if they don't like it.
Yeah, people will pick it apart and be brutal. I mean, heck, you'll see it all the time. Like when Super Bowl comes around and stuff, there's just that attention where everybody knows and everybody knows how it should be. So they have this expectation. So yeah, I always strive to just do a really clean, straight up national anthem the way it was written and lay it out there as is. And usually, most of the time, people thoroughly enjoy that. So.
I think I've asked you this question once before on the radio show, but I would like to ask it here just to see what your thoughts are, or if your thoughts have changed. Beyond the obvious, beyond the number one hit on the country charts, on Billboard charts, and all the awards and everything, how do you define success for Ashley?
So for me, I define success for what I do as an artist, as a musician, being that I have a fan base who enjoys my music and who will support me to where I can continue to do that for years to come. If we are in a place where I can continue making music and music videos and doing shows and stuff, and there are still people out there who are willing to buy our merchandise, to pay for the tickets to come to the shows, have those experiences with us, like that's success to me. Because being an independent artist, it is truly a self-funded, self-ran operation. And at the end of the day, nothing happens without them. It's like if I don't have you, I don't have anything. I'm singing into my phone camera and I might as well just be singing to the wall if you're not there, you know? So to me, success is having that community of people who care, who love what we do, and who will continue to support myself and my team in order for us to keep blossoming and making things bigger and greater as the years go on.
What's your dream venue? The one venue you would love to play at?
There's so many really like cool venues, right, that people always talk about, and I don't blame them, right? Like Red Rocks, the Opry, all those beautiful places. But for me, I just can't help but to say, one of the major arenas here in Arizona, whether that be Action Pavilion, Talking Stick Resort, big arena where the Suns play out of, just one of those places where I grew up watching all the people that I look up to, just to have that full circle moment where I could go and play on those stages. Like I would probably sob. But that's like my dream, is to have the opportunity to get on one of those stages and have that moment.
Red Rocks is a very cool venue. If you do get the chance,
Yes.
play there.
Yeah, no, that's always one of everybody's like top ones. They're like Opry, Red Rocks, and I'm like, I don't blame you. That venue is gorgeous. But for me, it would be especially emotional to be able to play one of the arenas where I grew up watching all my favorites.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, because a lot of the artists, when I lived in Colorado and interviewed artists from Colorado, that was the same response: Red Rock, because that is the iconic venue in Colorado. Yes, you had the Pepsi
Yeah.
Center and Mile High Stadium and all that, but for all the Colorado artists, it's Red Rock. That's
Right.
when you've made it.
Yes.
What's coming up next for Ashley? You got the album coming out later this year. What else?
Where do I begin? So, as I mentioned before, there's lots of music videos coming out this year. So, you can keep your eye out for at least 2 more singles to come out before the album with their music videos. And of course, as you mentioned, the album, which will be coming out later this year. Those are really kind of the big milestones that we as an operation are working towards right now. Of course, as I mentioned earlier in the interview, we are looking into our options for some live shows and stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to put some things on the books, even if it means it's a little bit later in this year, like in the fall time and such. But we hope to be back on stages, performing, playing for you guys again. And of course, just expanding what we're doing here on social media, doing the live broadcasts on Facebook, on Instagram. We're also looking into venturing outwards with some other platforms like Twitch to do our live streaming and stuff. So there's a bunch of different things that we have in the works behind the scenes that I can't go into too many details about, but
There's
a lot of
nobody
stuff
watching.
coming
You don't
up
have to
that
worry
we
about
just love to share.
My mom's watching. She's about the only one, so that's nobody's watching. I got your website up there on the screen. Where else can people go find you to follow you and keep up to date with what's going on?
Yeah, so if you are on any social media platform, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, I have accounts on all those platforms. So you guys can just type in Ashley Wineland onto those and find me there. But you can also go to my website, ashleywineland.com. I have a fan club that you can join for free that gets all like behind the scenes stuff, early access to things, discount codes for merchandise, all that good stuff too, which is just another added layer of staying connected within our community. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, with live shows, if you're not already, follow us on Bands in Town, so that way you get notified right away when we have a show in your area. So that way you can plan it, mark it on your calendar, come out to see us, all that good stuff.
Ashley, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your evening and taking time away from writing your paper. I don't want you to stress over that, so we will let you go so you can get to that.
Thank you.
But wishing you much success and cannot wait for the album to come out later this year.
Thank you so much. Super excited to finally be able to share that. It's definitely been a labor of love, and I'm just really excited to share everything that we have planned for this year with you guys. So thank you again so much for having me. Thank you to everybody who watched this interview. Thanks for staying up and hanging out with us, and hopefully we'll see you back here again.
And I also want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching and posing some great questions for Ashley in the comment section. Be sure to check out the radio show, Eye on Jamz. You can find all the information on when it airs, day and times by going to eyeonindiemagazine.com and click on the link. Thank you, Ashley. Have a great evening.
Thank you. You too. Good night, you guys.